and let me give you a personalised welcome to the IMAX Science Museum. And don't you just love the Science Museum?
Yeah.
So tonight is the second in our current series of Duke Research lectures. The first one we did at REBA with Scott Aronson, and he was talking about quantum computing. And the G Research lecture series features experts in world experts recognised in their fields to come and talk to us on a range of interesting subjects. And tonight we want to talk about big data. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce to you David McCandless. David is a British data journalist who is widely praised because he has the ability to explain complex ideas with beautiful simplicity. His career as a journalist has led to the development of his blog, Information is Beautiful, and the subsequent publication of his seminal book of the same name in 2009. I've noticed copies of that around the G Research office. His second book, Knowledge is Beautiful, was published in 2014, and his TED Talk, The Beauty of Data Visualization, has more than 2.5 million views. David's talk tonight is on harnessing the power of visualization to provide insight, show patterns, and tell stories from numbers. As one of the leading experts in the science of data visualization, we've invited David to speak about the secrets to the art of visualizing data, something that we at G Research are trying to do every day. And I'm going to share with you, there was a great prank in the office this morning because we told one of the guys on the data visualization team that they were going to have to visualize some data tonight. So after the talk, we'll be asking David some of your questions. And you'll see printed cards on your chairs with a link to our Q&A app. So please send us your questions during the talk, and we will put the best of those questions to David at the end. So, would you please give a big warm welcome to David McCandless.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so I'm David. I live and work here in London as a data journalist and information designer, and that just basically means I have a passion for data. All kinds of data, numbers, ideas, words, statistics, and turning that data into graphical images that anyone can understand. And I like to go a step further and take that visualized data and design it so that it reveals something interesting, or allows us to focus on something what's important in the sea of data that surrounds us, or even maybe drowns us. Or design that data so that it tells a story. So that's the data journalism part of it. And I think when you do that, when you gather data, you analyze it, you visualize it, and you design it, strange, interesting, and even quite magical things can start to happen to your data. So today I'm going to tell you some data stories. I'm going to take you on a data-driven tour of the universe, if you like, and hopefully convince you, if you need convincing, that data is beautiful. So let's start with some data I think we can all relate to, or maybe we struggle to relate to. That's billions. So what does $1 billion look like? What does $100 billion look like? What does $1,000 billion look like? These numbers are routinely circulated in the media and in company reports. 50 billion for this takeover, 100 billion for this war, whatever. But these numbers are so mind-bogglingly huge, they're so vast, they're impossible to relate to in any human sense. So frustrated by this, I gathered a load of these numbers from various sources and scraped them and visualized them in this diagram, which I call the billion-dollar-ogram. So the blocks here are sized according to the amounts, and the colors here represent the motivation behind the money. So green is revenue, pink is giving money away, and so on. So when you take big, abstract data points like billions and you visualize them like this, you instantly have a different kind of relationship to them. You can literally see them. But more interestingly, you can start to see patterns and connections and relationships between numbers that would otherwise be scattered across multiple sources. Numbers you've never seen together. So let me highlight some for you. Over here we have the amount given to charity by the American people, very generous people, over $300 billion a year they give to charity. And you can contrast that with the amount given in foreign aid by the top industrialized nations of the world, just 120 billion. This block here, this huge block, this is OPEC's revenue. And that little pixel in the corner, that's their climate change funds, as you can see. And then dominating the diagram, of course, is the total eventual cost of the Iraq and Afghanistan campaign, the war on terror, 3,000 billion. And that square in the corner there, that was the predicted cost back in 2003 when the war was launched. So, you know, scales and contrasts. And that's often, with data, that's often where the story is. It's not in the data points themselves, it's not in those billions, but it's in the contrasts, the comparisons, those connections between the numbers. So the data here, it kind of looks a bit like Lego, and you can, as more billions come in, as we hear about more billions, I can keep adding numbers and contextualizing them visually in relationship to this diagram. Like, for instance, the cost of the financial crisis, the economy is still reverberating somewhat from that terrible event back in 2007, 2008. So I'm going to add the entire cost of that to the world, to this diagram. So imagine in your minds how much this diagram might be taken up by that diagram. Sorry, that amount. Let's just add it. There it is. Yep, 12,000 billion, 12 trillion, the sheer cost. So, you know, if you create a bunch of numbers like this and contextualize them visually, the data can become like a platform. You can keep adding numbers and giving it extra value. I had to do this. This is the billion poundogram. So this is a visualization of government spending in billions. Again, numbers are difficult to get around. Slightly less interesting because it's a bit more local. And you can see, I was trying to understand the budget deficit, this hole in our black hole in our finances, 75 billion pounds approximately. And you can see it's about half the cost of what we spend on health. Nearly 2/3 of what we spend, or 1/3 of what we spend on income tax, we get from income tax every year. So it's one hell of an overdraft. I just want to try and understand that number in a more human way. But still, when I look at this image, I still think we're still in the realm of billions. Like, I wonder if there's a way I could bring these numbers down to earth, make them more readily relatable to. So I came up with this. I took the same numbers and I translated them into a metric I think is more accessible. So same numbers, but now how much the average taxpayer pays or contributes per day to each of these silos, each of these costs. And my thinking here is like, I don't exactly know how much I spend a year or a month, but I definitely know how much I spend a day. That's a number I can relate to. So it gives us a different landscape now. We can see the NHS actually costs about £2.40, the average taxpayer. Museums and arts, around about 10, 12 pence. The EU membership fee was just 20 pence. Prior to Brexit. What else have we got here? In Scotland, 99 pence. Any Scots in at all? Yep, worth every penny, sir. So, when I create an image like this, I feel like a true journalist, in the sense of a member of the media, in the sense of mediating between the vast seas of data on one side and everyday life in the other. And diagrams like this can act as a sort of link or a portal between those worlds. Now, there's not a lot of visualization going on here. I've just used some graphical images to draw the eye. The final image ended up a bit looking more like this. So you can see the flows of expenditure, you see the flows of costs, and it becomes more of a data or information map. So you can explore, find your own numbers, make your own discoveries. So that's just one of the powers of visualization, to bring data down to earth, to allow us to relate to it, to act as a portal. Another great utility is of course, is analysis, using visualization to analyze your data, to find out what's there, to seek patterns, discover stories, stuff you may not know existed. Visualization is a great way of surfacing that kind of material. As I said, I'm a data journalist. Prior to being a data journalist, I was a print journalist. I worked for The Guardian and other newspapers. And when I got into that trade, I very quickly realized something that propels the media and often propels the stories on the front page, a currency that's always useful for the media to use to make stories. And that, of course, is fear. Like, fear makes a great story for a newspaper. So I wonder what a timeline of the world's biggest media-inflamed fears might look like. So I came up with this image. I call this image Mountains Out of Molehills. I'm going to label this for you. But the height here is the intensity, so the number of times each of these fears has been mentioned in the press. This big pink spike here, that's swine flu. The yellow one there is bird flu. This orange one here is SARS. You remember SARS? The grey spike on the left is the millennium bug. When we were all terrified of that. The light green foreground humps are asteroid collisions. And the humps in the very foreground, those blue ones, killer wasps. So these are our fears as they rise and fall in the media, as they rise and fall in the group mind, if you like. And you can see, like, there is a sort of pattern. Every 2 or 3 years, there's a spike in anxiety or fear, usually around a disease, which is a great thing because it's invisible and it's sort of slightly threatening, so it makes a good story. And of course, a couple of years ago, around about this time, we were wrestling with anxiety around the scourge of Ebola. Remember when there was a lot of fear around Ebola? So let me add the Ebola data to the diagram now. There it is, there's the spike for Ebola. So you can see the spike goes off the chart. And if I actually resize the chart to accommodate that spike, it actually looks like this. So there's the exponential increase in our media-inflamed fears. So I didn't know that was going to be there. I had to visualize the data to be able to see it and to start exploring reasons why or causes and correlations. And in fact, when I created this image, I found a pattern I wasn't expecting. Let me highlight it for you. This is the pattern for the fear about violent video games. So the fear that, Grand Theft Auto, Flappy Bird, or whatever is the current buzz, is somehow corrupting our youth or affecting them in some way. And you can see instantly there's a regularity to this shape. Twin peaks every year. And if you look closely at where the peaks occur, they occur in the same months every year. November, April, There's this spike or surge in fear about violent video games. Well, now I'm curious about the cause of that. Now I have to be careful. We're in the correlation causation world here. We have to be careful. So I've got a couple of hunches. Let me bounce them off you. November, Christmas video games come out. And it's usually the one that press a light on and make the kind of bête noire. April, not such a big month for video games. But there is something to do with April and violent video games that I think might push that association into the media. Might push it, might spike it a little bit. Now, anyone who hasn't seen the slide before, anyone guess what it might be? End of school? It's actually, there's a link there actually, you're not far off. Exams, yep, you're kind of in the same sort of territory. It's a tragic link, unfortunately. So, in April 1999 was the Columbine school shooting. And that tragedy was linked, rightly or wrongly, to violent video games. And since then, there have been court cases by the parents, retrospectives, even copycat shootings now timed to coincide with April, because April has become this sort of resonant month for these kind of atrocities. So when one is mentioned, the other is mentioned close by. Here's the correlation, and it's just a correlation, so I say this tentatively, but it's interesting how closely they shadow each other down the years, and when one is mentioned, the other is often mentioned close by. So hidden patterns, hidden stories, hidden causes that might be lurking in the data that you need to visualize and to be able to see and start exploring. In fact, again, when I create this image and I look back at it a couple of years, I hadn't really clocked another pattern or another spot on the diagram. You see there's a point on the left here where the media-inflamed fears die away and then begin again. If you look closely at when they end, it's around about September 2001. We had something very real to be scared about. So yeah, using visualization to surface the patterns, becoming a data detective, trawling through, see if you can find gold. So that's one kind of landscape. The next image, I want to show you another landscape. And this next image went a little viral. So some of you might have seen it before, especially if you've seen me speak before. So if you know the answer to this next question, don't say, and we'll test everyone else. Okay? I want everyone else to try and guess what this data set is. There's something that peaks twice a year, once around about Easter, and then about 3 or 4 weeks before Christmas. Has little mini peaks every Monday, but then flattens out in the summer. Anyone who hasn't seen this, want to try and guess? Sick days. Yeah, you might want to take a couple of days off sick, yeah. Yeah. Far up. Chocolates. You want to get some chockies in, yeah, it might help, yeah. You're not far off. Suicide? Taking it a bit far, but you might feel like it. It's actually most common breakup times, according to Facebook status updates. We scraped hundreds of thousands of status updates. This is the pattern we found in the data. A mysterious peak around April Fool's Day. What did you do? Mondays, people come out of bad weekends and update their statuses on Monday, so that's that phenomenon. Summer, you want to be young, free, and single for the summer, right? It'll clear out there. And then the lowest day of the year, of course, Christmas Day. Who would do that? Well, somebody would. It's not actually zero. So, we're generating so much data now, I don't need to tell you this. Every hour, every second, every millisecond, Facebook, Twitter, all these vast sources of data, and it's creating this vast ocean, this vast sea, and it can feel overwhelming. But one way to respond to it is to have the right kind of question, the right kind of inquiry, the right search. The smarter, the better, and sometimes that can help you reveal the gold that's hidden in the ocean, if you like. Now, the ubiquity of data has led to a phrase I think I hear a lot, and maybe you do as well in your trade. Data is the new oil. It's this new ubiquitous kind of resource, new kind of fuel we can use to power businesses, get insight, innovate. I think it's a useful phrase, but I would modify it slightly. For me, at least, anyway, data feels more like the new kind of soil. Like it's a new kind of material, a new form of matter, that you can get your hands dirty with and you dig through. And if you treat it in the right way, then visualizations, infographics, they're like flowers that can bloom in the soil. Of course, we have a name for this soil. I'm sure you come across it. Big data is the term. And I avoided using this phrase for quite a while because it felt like a buzzword and I didn't quite understand what it meant. Everyone was using it, I wasn't sure. But then I realized my mistake. Big data is a noun, but it actually describes a process of engagement with data. So it's actually a verb. So big data is a verb. And it's a process that involves all these steps. The gathering and handling of large amounts of data, the structuring and examining that data, the analytics side of things, and then discovering something about that data and then being able to deliver it back into your organization, to your teams, to your customers, to your audiences. I've drawn a line in the diagram there because I meet a lot of organizations and companies that are cycling around the top half of that diagram. They're hoarding and warehousing huge amounts of data. They're doing a little bit of analytics here and there, but they're not really necessarily penetrating over to that discovery side and that delivery side. And that's where the data journalism and the data science field come in, the expertise come in. Those two approaches, which are very similar. And in some ways, the core way they're similar is that they both start with a question or hypothesis. And the smarter and more acute the question, the better the results usually. So a lot of the work I show you and a lot of the work I do just begins with a question. Maybe like this one, for example. Do horoscopes all just say the same thing? I don't know much about horoscopes, but that's the rumor. So I scraped about 80,000. I did a word frequency analysis on horoscopes and created this, a visualization of the most common words across star signs, so you can see for yourself if they kind of say the same thing. The red words here are strongly unique, statistically speaking, per star signs. So let's see. Any Taurians in the room at all? Yep, a few at the back. You are open, but you worry a lot, apparently, according to the data. Any Virgos? Yeah, a few of those, about 12%. Interesting. You are totally perfect. Nice. I mentioned scraping. I'm sure some of you understand what that means. It means you basically write a script, maybe in Python, and you automate the gathering of data from around the web. And you scrape it all into a big spreadsheet. We scraped it all nicely from Yahoo's horoscope database, which is a very nice directory structure that we could write a nice scraper for. But it does have anti-hacking protection systems, and if you ping Yahoo's server too quickly, it thinks you're hacking and it bans your IP address for a week. So after 3 weeks, we found the correct frequency not to trigger that. And it's 1/10 of a second, so just in case you're planning any scraping. So anyway, I created this chart. It was kind of fun. I was playing around, and I thought, hold on a second, I can go a step further. I've got the most common words across all star signs. I could take the most common words of those and create a single prediction that would apply to every single star sign, every single day of the year, like a meta prediction, right? So here you go. This is it. Whatever the situation or secret moment, enjoy everything a lot. Family and friends matter, keep making love. The world is life, fun and energy, maybe hard or easy. But just change your mind and a better mood comes along. There you go, you never read a horoscope again. You can do it all. Now, I was just playing with this data. It was like a fun little side project. It was interesting. In the process of play with this data, I learned how to do scraping, I learned how to do word frequency analysis, I visualized the chart, I did the further analysis. So I picked up a load of data skills in the process of play that I can now use in more serious projects or commercial work or whatever. So playing with this soil, playing with this data is actually a great way to learn how to start to handle it, get interesting, unexpected results, get more confident with it. And I don't mean play in a frivolous sense, in the sense of being open-ended, courageous, experimental. It's a lightness. Sometimes data can bring a rigidity with it that might stifle our creativity, but when you marry creativity and data, art and science, sometimes you get the unexpected, interesting, really fertile results. A problem that I face, and maybe you have the same issue with data sometimes, is that the data's kind of boring. It's like there's not much going on, it's an incremental shift, it's tiny, there's not much, it's interesting. Or what the data is revealing is obvious, we already know the answer. But even that you can work with to create a story or create an insight. I'll give you a little example. Here's an obvious question with an obvious answer. Who has the biggest military budget in the world? Yeah, USA. There it is. What are we up to? Yeah, about nearly 600 billion a year. And here are the other biggest military budgets of the world for comparison. And that number, that American military budget number, is so large it can contain a good number of those military budgets inside itself. And there are a couple of other numbers there for context, what the rest of the world spends on military budgets and then the budget deficit. So you might see that number in the paper, and you might literally see red. You might chime with the political view you have that, America has a military-industrial complex, or it's out to police the world, or whatever. But is it true that America has the world's largest military budget? Because you have to take into account the fact that America has a massive, enormously massive, and disproportionately huge economy. $14 trillion economy, way bigger than any of the other economies, the top 3 economies combined. So its military budget is bound to be massively, disproportionately huge. Right? So to be fair, we have to adapt our question and say, okay, who spends the most in the military as a proportion of their GDP, as a proportion of their output? When you do that maths, you get a different picture. All these countries, other countries spring into view or invisible to focusing on a big figure. The USA drops to 19th. It has the 19th biggest military budget according to this metric. So, we live in a connected world now. We can no longer take a single data point and claim truth or get upset. We have to add it to other data points, contextualize it, build in a network of meaning so we can see a number in its particular context and understand it more. You can do the same with armies. Who has the biggest army?
North Korea?
Yeah, North Korea or China, yeah. Let's take a look. It is actually China, there it is. 2.3 million strong. And again, I might chime with a political view of China, that it has territorial ambitions or whatever. But again, is it true that China has the world's largest army? Because again, of course, China has a massive population, disproportionately huge. So again, we have to modify our question. Who has the biggest army as a percentage of the population? That might actually see a different picture. So your North Korea springs into view, number 1. And China plummets to 124th. It actually has a tiny army for its size. I'm sure many of you have come across a great visualizer of data known as, sadly passed away, Hans Rosling, the Swedish professor with the animated balls. You might have seen them on TED, fantastic. He had this great phrase, let the data set change your mindset. Take this soil and grind it up and make a lens to see the world in a sharper, clearer way. See the world through data. So just some of the things you can do with visualization. Another thing you can also use it for is just to simply upgrade your visuals to a more modern level of quality, and more understandable, more communicable. Everything you release now, a presentation slide, a document, a visualization, has to compete with everything your audience has seen that day, that hour online. And everything online looks kind of better than it used to. And the design bar of the culture has risen somewhat. So things have to look good. So you can put things through a visualization process to sort of like pimp them, make them better looking, and so increase their understanding. Here's a little example. typical results you get from a blood test lab is the clinical blood test result. Pretty inscrutable and not very approachable. So tasked with the idea of applying visualization to open up this data. So this is what we came up with. So we introduced color, visual hierarchy, different typography, rewrote a copy, introduced visual icons. And so now, without compromising any of the data, it's a document that speaks to the clinician, the doctor, and the patient simultaneously. You don't need to create different bits of data. So it's tapping into that universality of design and visual language. When you start to visualize things, you're speaking a more primordial language, a language we learned very early on in our lives that connects with the brain much faster than conceptual numbers, conceptual words. I did a similar thing with this. This is a problem that I face quite a lot that annoys me. It's the heavens, obviously, but it's depicted, and this is right, this is how the heavens should be, that's how it looks. But I think this depiction always disguises for me the incredible flora and fauna that exists in the heavens. Blazars, quasars, black holes, molecular clouds, all these exotic objects. So I went through and categorized them all and gave each one a symbol and explained each one in 4 or 5 lines. And that gave me a visual vocabulary that I could then project back onto the heavens. So this is the northern and southern hemisphere in this visual vocabulary. You can see way more variety and complexity and flora and fauna that exists. And so with this visual vocabulary, I could also do things like this. I could visualize the composition of the Milky Way. This is our galaxy, made up mostly of red dwarf stars, because it's a very ancient galaxy. It was born very shortly after the Big Bang, 13.6 billion years ago. And that's our nearest neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy, twice as big, but younger, much younger. So the stars are blue, they burn hotter, they burn blue. So a little snapshot there into a bit of astronomy, which may not be a topic you're interested in, but by visualizing it, encoding it in beautiful graphics, it may be something you then pay attention to, maybe something you absorb. So visualizations, again, act as a portal into worlds that are inscrutable, especially scientific worlds, which are often is so necessary to understand, but often locked away in jargon and complexity. So visualization is a way of just opening those up, making them beautiful. Yeah, so information and data are beautiful. I wonder if I can make my life beautiful. So I visualized, introduced in my visualized CV. This is a little snapshot of where I've come from, my background. I was a programmer in my teens, back when home computers were little boxes and programming languages were true programming languages, like assembly language and things like that. Anybody resonate with assembly language? Anybody come from that world? A few little hands in the back, boys, thank you. And I got so good, I played video games as well, so I was obsessed with video games and obsessed with programming. And the two came together when I learned how to hack video games to make them easier, to give you infinite lives and so on. And I got so good at this, I was given a column in a magazine, age 13, when I used to write potes. They were called potes, that was instruction used to change the code. And then that led to enhancing my programming skills. So then I had a programming column called Programming Pit Stop. And this is when you had to type in programs. That's me, age 14, you see. Showing you similar haircut. Sorry, just a little flashback. So that was the programming and the video games. And then, of course, video games led me to online culture, and I got into websites and doing online stuff and writing about stories about it. Ran websites and got into advertising as well. Did conceptual copywriting, so it's just coming up with ideas and visualizing. And advertising has long known the power of the visual image, so I learned a lot about visual presentation. And I've been designing for about 7 or 8 years. I've done a lot in my career, but the thing I'm actually most famous for is this. Who recognizes this? Could you show me your hands? Okay, so I'm doing a world survey. All right, 28% of you. Thank you. Yes, I wrote this game. This is, for those who don't know, it's a really amazing game that went super viral in the year 2000. So, sorry, just again another diversion. So, I've been designing for like 7 or 8 years. I've never been to design school, never studied art, never done any kind of visual training whatsoever. I like to learn by picking tools up and just playing with them and failing and learning that way. And it was interesting, when I started designing, I discovered something about myself. I already knew how to design. Not like I was amazingly good at it, you know, but I had a sense of color, space, and typography, and I had a rough idea of what I was doing. And I think it's because I've been exposed to all this media in my career, it sunk in. I had this innate design literacy that was waiting for expression. But I don't think I'm unique. I think this is happening to all of us, all of you, all of us. Every day now, we're being exposed to an information design medium, the internet, and it's training us to expect information and design to come together, to expect data and visualization to come together. So much so that the authority of one now depends on the other. Like, think about how if you visit a really badly designed website, how little you would trust the information on that website. You visit a really glossy website, how little you might question the information on that website. So the two now go hand in hand now, information and design, data and visualization. And I wonder if there isn't something cognitive about that. You know, we're incredible pattern hunters. Our eyes are exquisitely sensitive to variation in color, pattern, and shape. That's the language of the eye. You know, huge amounts of neurons in our brain are just dedicated to the visual system. And it's thousands of times faster in terms of transmissibility of information. And infographics visualizations are not a new phenomenon. They've been around for decades, centuries. This is a very famous graphic from 1860. It depicts the march of Napoleon's army to Russia and its subsequent retreat. And the thickness here is the number of soldiers. You can see in a second the tragedy of that campaign in this amazing visual. Florence Nightingale was visualizing data in the Crimean War to try and convince her superiors that so many soldiers were dying of preventable diseases in the wards. Isotype was a visual language event in the 1940s to convey statistical information in an approachable way. And it's again a visualization of cholera epidemics in London from 1870. It's very modern looking, you know, very of its time. So I think there have been cycles where data visualization have tried to come through, but only now is there a medium. You know, the internet has really not only provided a medium to spread it, but trained us to receive it. So we're just looking at smartphones and visual material all the time, and we now speak this visual language, and now the language of the eye, color, shape, and pattern, combined with the language of the mind, numbers, ideas, and words, together, enhancing each other, more powerful. I'll give you a little example. Here's a little snapshot of currently what's going on in the telecoms industry. An invisible war, everyone's suing everyone else, mostly over tiny features of your smartphone. You know, slide to unlock, for example, is a big court case that's going on. So a little bit about this diagram. Size of blocks is yearly revenue. Red companies have decreasing revenue year on year. Black companies increasing revenue year on year. Arrows depict court cases. Dotted arrows are ones that have been decided. And in the speech bubbles are why each company is suing the other. So I can just take those away. Now we're just dropping down to a bit more of a visual layer, just more on the pattern layer. Still some symbols here. Take those away. So now we're just on that visual layer, just on the language of the eye layer. And on this level, your eye is exquisitely placed to answer two questions. Is there a relationship between decreasing revenue and increasing legal activity? Is there a relationship between size of company and increasing legal activity? Now again, not a pattern or relationships you can see in a spreadsheet. You need to visualize it to be able to see them. Add on the symbols, add on the story. So now you've got an image that's working on multiple levels simultaneously. And if you've designed it well, that is, if you've harmonized the visual elements so they don't collide with each other, you've got an image that's got sort of depth, dimensionality to it. You can take it in one shot, you can zoom in and read the story. So it's very much like, when you do a visualization, it's very much like taking a photo of your data. It's like, data visualization is like a new kind of camera. And the camera metaphors are useful, like, what kind of shot are you taking your data? A wide shot, a zoom? You know, what's in the background, what's in the foreground, what's in focus, what's out of focus? Think in those ways is a really great way of into visualization. And as a data journalist, I feel more akin to photojournalism than I do to print or written journalism. So I would start using camera metaphors in my work. Like I might think, I'll take a satellite photo of this data, I'll see this data from above. Now this next sequence was quite boring data I found about illegal drug use in countries. The biggest illegal drug use in countries in the world, from the UN, per capita per person. So they're going to give you a little alternative world tour here. So these are the biggest cocaine using countries in the world, the top 8 of each. So this is cocaine. Then we have cannabis, or stoners as they know. You're going to see a lot of Australia in this, by the way. Any Australians making any talk today? No? Okay. Oh. Then we have ravers, ecstasy. Then we've got amphetamines, so different picture there. Breaking off east. Quite a lot in the UK actually, as I review these slides. Then we have opiates. This is the main opiate countries, heroin and so on. Then we have smokers. And then finally, the drunks. There they are. A little alternative world tour there. And one of the lessons here is like, you don't have to show all your data. Sometimes it's very tempting, you're boiling with your data, it's so great, you want to show it all. But sometimes the interesting bit is in a layer. Just focusing on a layer and allow you to tell more of the story. So seeing stuff mapped is an obvious way of looking at data from above. You can also do a conceptual overview. So, for instance, something here that the pigs, birds, and humans have in common. Anybody? Yeah, I think I heard somebody whisper it up front. Yeah, it's actually flu. We can all contract flu, and these are all the different types of flu: H7N9, H3N5, swine flu, avian flu. Again, these things that pop up in the media periodically. Should we be alarmed? How they're related? So I sort of created this image to try and understand the interrelationships. I mean, one of the reasons I created this image. The other reason is it gave me the opportunity for an amazing pun. You ready? I call this image Influenza. Anybody? Fine. So conceptual views work. This is a visualization of my the emblem you keep seeing. And it's actually, again, there's a question underlying this. Do colours mean the same thing across cultures? So did a big study, lots of concepts, lots of cultures. And we only found 4 notions or concepts, if you like, that were consistently coloured. So anger is universally red, as is passion. Purity is universally white or silver. And evil is universally black. Apart from that, no consistency. And as I was preparing this talk, G Research asked me if I had any mathematical stories I could tell, because I understand, that's your jam. So I went through my work and I found one story about a math equation that I think, let's see how it works. I never normally do this one, so let's see. So this is the equation. And you can use visualization to visualize the concepts and factors within an equation, to open it up. Does anybody recognize this equation? Wow, you recognize it? That's impressive. It is indeed the Drake equation. And what is the Drake equation, sir? Exactly right. How many are we alone in the galaxy? How many extraterrestrial civilizations might exist in the galaxy? And it's nice to break down. We look at the number of new stars born per year. It's about 7. Our galaxy, as you saw earlier, was a bit old, so that's actually a low number for a galaxy. It's normally in the hundreds and 200s. And the chance that the stars have planets, we now know that pretty much every star has planets. There's exo-telescopes that told us. And probably one of the biggest unknown factors, the average number of habitable planets per solar system. I've been medium conservative here, we have 0.2. And then the chance of life, again, an unknown factor, but chance that habitable planet develops life, I'll put 0.1%, quite low, probably go lower. And then chance of that life would be intelligent. I think intelligence of a sort or another exists in a biological world. It doesn't have to be human level intelligence, so I think that's probably quite high. But then we're into civilization. Chance that the life can communicate across space, I put 10%. The length of time of civilization sends signals into space. So how long will civilization last? 10,000 years, let's say. And then the number of times a civilization could redevelop, given that a planet lasts, a billion years lifespan. I put 5. I think they're fair. You may disagree with a few, but let's see. And then, so how many? What do you think? Can anybody do that in their head? So, I don't know. It might be possible. And you add all that, crunch all that together through the Drake equation, you actually get 1. 1 communicating civilization in our galaxy, which is a bit of a blow, but not if you extrapolate it to the whole universe, because then you get 25.2 billion civilization. So there you go. Maths, visualizations combined. That works. So yeah, with a camera, you can just point at anything, be it an equation, be it a map, see it from above. You can also zoom, so you can crash zoom down on a bunch of statistics or a few numbers that might say a lot about an entire world. I created this image around about the time of Twitter's IPO about 3 years ago. At the time, they had about 283 million active users. How many were active in a traditional sense? And as we see now, Twitter is struggling a bit as a business. At the same time, I was reading a book by a New York academic called Clay Shirky. He talked about, his book was called Cognitive Surplus, and talks about the untapped minds that sit around desks, bored, in office jobs, waiting to be involved in creative projects. And he has a standout statistic: 200 billion hours spent watching TV by US adults, contrasted with the 100 million person hours it took to create something as awesome as Wikipedia, just as an emblem of our potential, if you like. Now, what's interesting to me is I often sketch my graphics. This is my sketch. You can see it's quite bad, but you can see I was way out with 100 million. I mean, 100 million is a lot of money. It sounds like a lot, but I cognitively scaled it relative to that as, way out of proportion. And I thought, well, what if that's exploited? That's interesting. So I found this. President Obama announced the federal budget of the United States. So this is about money needed to run the government apparatus of America. $3,500 billion. And at the same time, he said, well, it's a time of austerity, so I'm going to cut 100 million. So I was like, oh, good, let's cut 100 million. Excellent. So let's just do that cut visually, shall we? 3,500 billion. So imagine your minds cutting 100 million from that. Certain minds. Some of you may be able to do this, I'm sure. Naturally, let's just cut 100 million. Take a look. Yep, there it is. We can just about see it on the IMAX. So whenever you hear 100 million, pay attention. You need to pay attention to what's going on. So yeah, database camera, wide, zoom, and then you go wide. Sometimes you've got a lot of data, it's rich, it's beautiful, you want to show it all, you want to visualize it all. Of course, it's brilliant, do that. This next image I didn't create, but I wish I had, is by Nick Berry of Data Genetics. It comes from a bunch of data breaches, but it shows how if you give people a 4-digit PIN number to choose, these are the patterns that are exhibited. So this is a heat map. We've got the first 2 digits along the side, the second 2 digits along the bottom. The diagonal line is people using double digits, 23, 23, 55, 55, and so on. That horizontal line is people using their birth year, so it's the 19 line, 1958, 1973, and so on. And that heat in the bottom left are people using their birth date in a day-month format, so it doesn't go over 31. So this is like a visualization of an emblem of our predictability, if you like. And out of this data, 3 numbers arise as the most common. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 2, 5, 8, 0. Why 2, 5, 8, 0? Yep, straight down the middle. And it inspired me to do a similar thing. So I gathered, sadly, when data breaches happen, they're terrible things. When the data gets leaked online, and what you can do is you gather that data and you can do analysis on it. So I did the same thing for English language passwords. So these are the most common English language password and password stems. And 70% of all English language password and password stems are in this diagram. And 9 out of 10 users use the same password across the bulk of their sites. So, and you see here immediately there's some colors. So colors represent the patterns that I found in the day. So I was looking through it and I thought, hold on, these passwords fall into categories. So let me just take you on a tour of some passwords. So one big theme of passwords is password or access. So like let me in, password itself. 5% of users just use the word password as their password. Then you have alphanumerics so like QWERTY, ABC, and so on. So get this, 10% of users either use the word password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or the admittedly higher security, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have sports, of course, with football as number 1. Then we have a category I call kind of rebellious. So it's like, trust no one, whatever, bite me. And then, of course, a very big nerdy category. Computer, Matrix, Gandalf, and THX1138. Anybody nerdy enough to know? Yes, sir, at the back, what we got? You can't? You forget it, you can't remember. Really. Yes, anybody?
Lucas' first movie.
Yes, Lucas' first movie. Bonus point, what did George Lucas name his movie after? Oh, it was the number plate of his first car. No, you get it. The biggest category is, of course, names. Let's assume that that's something you don't forget, unless you're Australian. Then we have animals, with monkeys number 1. And then we have 2 categories. I love these 2 categories. One I call macho, so it's like shadow, hunter, hardcore. I contrast that with a category I call fluffy. Whoops, fluffy. So it's like sunshine, lovers, magic. So here's the breakdown. Go home and change your password. So great, so you can do a wide shot, and it allows you to see the data and explore and swim through it, and you surface the stories, you drill down, get more analysis. You can combine the shots and start wrapping up in the story, so it can start revealing more variety of the beauty of data, if you like. And these wide shots actually take me towards knowledge. Knowledge is beautiful, which was the name of a book I did recently. And one of the themes of the book was like, we use these words, data, information, and knowledge. What are the differences between those things, and how do you translate one into the other? That was something I was exploring in the book. And the traditional way of depicting it is something like this. So you have a huge amount of data, you transform it somehow to information, and if you're lucky, you get a bit of knowledge popping out the top. I think this is useful. It doesn't quite give the sense of these as substances. You know, like data is soil. I think it's quite interesting to visualize them as substances. So data is soil. It's like granular, particular. We talk about data points. And information is very communicable. It's digestible. It's bite-sized. You know, bytes of data, strands of data, text. And then information and knowledge is perhaps something that's more web-like, connected, rich, rich and interconnected, more organic, perhaps. So that was my thinking, and I came up with visualizing them a bit like this to show the sort of substance. And it's helpful because then you see that a process is needed to convert one into the other. You gather the data to make information, and you link up the information to make the knowledge. So it gives you a sort of hint to the processes. But when I started doing the book and exploring and creating visuals with this framework, I discovered that this didn't quite fit. And instead of there actually being 3 substances, I found that maybe there are actually 6. So yes, you start with data, and you mine and capture and you collect that data. It doesn't create information. It creates another substance that you could call structured data. So think about tables, spreadsheets, databases. And only then when you start to identify and interpret and filter that structured data, do you end up with something more understandable and more communicable information, which its essence is that it communicates, it's digestible, it's bite-sized. And then over the last 20 years, we've been able to link up all these bits of information and create another substance called linked information, like web, hypertext, and so on. Now, linked information isn't knowledge, just like the web isn't knowledge. There needs to be a further transformative step, if you like, to make knowledge out of linked information. And that involves getting all the data and information about a subject and packing it inside a boundary, packing it inside a cell. So knowledge is actually really cellular. And you feel that in science. You know, in science, when you talk about a body of knowledge, many scientific fields are contained bodies of knowledge. So much so that if you're an expert in one field, it can be close to a crime or heresy to make a comment on another field. They're sealed off in some way. And then, when you are able to link up disparate areas of knowledge, perhaps you get a third substance that's called interconnected knowledge. And that's the stuff you use to predict, to model, it's kind of alive in a different way. You get a depth of knowledge that spans different domains. So just teasing apart information and knowledge, I'm just bouncing, so I'm thinking aloud, so I'll be interested in your thoughts afterwards. But just to tease out the difference between those two things, knowledge has qualities that sets it apart. Like information is like linked, whereas knowledge is connected. And the difference between a link and a connection, a link is done, and a connection is meaningful. When you're in a relationship with someone, it's meaningful. But if you're linked to them on LinkedIn, it's maybe not so meaningful. Information is very much about the now. It focuses on the now. So news is the perfect example of information. What's happening now? Breaking news. This is now. Whereas knowledge is more concerned with causes and consequences. So it's in the past and the future. Its focus is on the past and the future and why something is happening. Because information focuses on what's happening and maybe talks about how, but knowledge focuses on how it's happening and maybe tries to explore why. What forces brought this about? Why is this pattern manifesting? What are the processes? And then, you have the type focus of information, and then knowledge is the wide shot, the comprehensive. And that word is interesting because it needs to be comprehensive. You need to have all the data and information so it can be comprehensible, so it can be understandable. So when I applied that to the images, I started researching, all these graphics started to sort of bloom because I had to cover everything. I talk about oils and the balance of healthy oils, all the oils, all the sugars. I had to do them all to be comprehensive. All the antibiotics and the resistances. Every single fatal commercial passenger air crash of the last 30 years and why it happened. Pink here is human error. Every single cause of death of the 20th century, how many people died from it? Every single empire, major empire, will rise and fall, and why they rose and fell. Every single near-Earth object will pass close to the Earth in the next 150 years. We're good. We're good. Just heads up. That white line there is the distance of the Earth to the Moon. We're going to be grazed by about 5 objects. None of them are going to get close to the lowest satellite, so we're good. We're good. Every single journey in time travel with TV and film, forward and back. You know, apply it to anything. Every single popular dog. Any dog lovers here? A few sprinkled around. This is fun. This is a fun one. So we've got public popularity on the y-axis. X-axis is a metascore made up of genetic ailments, intelligence, and so on, like a combined score. So I could do some simple zoning here, and I can say, like, these are the hot dogs. These ones are overlooked treasures. Not very popular, but really high scoring on the data-ometer. These dogs are rightly ignored. Sorry, people, I'm sorry. I'm just playing in the day. And these ones are inexplicably overlooked. So yeah, wide shots, comprehensive, and especially when it comes to science. Like, it's a particular passion of mine, and health science. I think so poorly recorded. So much snake oil going around. Alternative remedies and supplements and so on. So I was dogged. I wanted to upgrade. I wanted to pimp my life. I wanted to optimize my diet. What supplements should I take? No idea. If you look at the price, it's impossible. Even in the studies, they're confusing. So scrape thousands of studies and visualize all the evidence for all nutritional supplements in this type of diagram called a balloon race. So the higher up the diagram, the more evidence there is for a supplement. And the size of the bubble is just is popularity. Simple Google index. You can see is there a relationship between efficacy and popularity a little bit. Graded thousands of studies, only use human placebo-controlled trials, the gold standard. So we could draw a line diagram and say, these substances are worth taking because the evidence is clinical grade. And it's promising, it's tentative, but it's promising, or it's strong. And then these substances below this line are not worth taking because the evidence is conflicting to non-resistant. And 80% of supplements fit below this line. So yeah, loved doing that graphic. Took months, but worth it. Not worth it from the point of view of doing a book, because it actually only filled 2 pages of my book after 3 months of work. But it points to another power of visualization, a huge amount of information squished down into just 2 pages. So it's like a compression technique visualization. It's like the MP3 of knowledge. Compress it all down. Because I've done all the research and the processing, you don't have to. So the cognitive overload for taking in visualization is virtually zero. You just drink it in like a landscape or a painting. So, it's a powerful way of just directly communicating all this scientific evidence in one go. And spend a lot of time curating the data. All the data is open. And now we can use it as a platform, build things on top of it, especially interactive tools. And interactivity is definitely where visualization is and is going more deeper. So here's the interactive version of that chart. It spawns itself from the data, so new evidence comes out, we just quickly update it, and it edits itself online. And because it's interactive, you can filter in a user-centric way to show me diabetes, or maybe I'm interested in cancer, there are remedies that might be helpful for cancer, or all over a bubble, get more info, click on the bubble, take it to the study. Quite a good approach, reused it for data breaches, useful for creating certain images, terrible in every other situation. As you know, they're a growing scourge across the data-led industries. And here, you see the biggest ones the last 10 years, and you can filter by industry. So we look at health and start finding stories here. Like health insurers getting hit. 2009, 2010, very bad year for the health world in terms of data breaches. And like I said, now health insurers are getting hit and getting their security tested. So exploratory, allow other people to come in and find their own stories, find their own insights. You can also use it as a way of storytelling and exploring topics. This is the Internet of Things. It's an editorial topic, but these are the big players in the Internet of Things, presented in a visual way so that it increases engagement, memory retention, exploratory discovery, all those sorts of things you can play around. I particularly like applying interactive visualizations to dense, complex areas that need filtering, that need unpicking. For example, every key relationship in the Middle East, here depicted. This opening state is meant as a bit of a joke because it's supposed to it shows how this situation defies a simple solution. But the black lines are hate, the pink lines are love, and the dotted lines are like complicated. So you can click on a player and see why, roll over and see why each player might love or hate the other player. And it's, again, plugged into a sheet. It's a dynamic situation. You constantly update it. So it's a living piece of context. You can go and visit and get a bit of understanding. So just applying this lens to anything I can come across. I'm a big film lover, and I love based on true story movies, but I hate being conned. So this is a scene-by-scene, beat-by-beat analysis of the biggest based on true story films. Red is false and green is true, and the in-between colours are like true-ish or false-ish, depending on how you set the pedantry level. Right now it's set to, it's just movies, come on, I'll take a little bit of fuzz, to, no, I want it a bit more, and this is just absolute black or white, only the truth matters. So we can do a little bit of filtering, and we can say, well, what has been the most false film in recent years? Let's take a look. The Imitation Game. Terrible film, just made up from start to finish. Well, that's a travesty of the historical record. And here you can browse through each scene, see a screenshot, see what the film says and what the sources say. Yeah, it was a long weekend. Sometimes you have these good ideas, but you've got to deliver them. Yeah, that's what kind of states in there. So yeah, so powerful, visualization. Lots of different ways of expressing data, lots of ways you can point this camera. All different forms, it's just a flourishing, beautiful field to be involved in. And a lot of what I've been showing you is what quantitative data, they're crunchy numbers, which lends itself to visualization. But there's another type of data, qualitative data, the more human data, sentiment, survey results, some of you may work with, that also works well visualized. I'll give you an example. It's sort of topical. This is the left and right political spectrum. And this is a concept map, so it shows how political ideas percolate down from government into society and culture, into individuals and background in a cycle. So it shows how lenses and ideas shape the perception of the world. And again, like the billions, through contrast and comparison, we can start to tease out the subtle or not so subtle differences between these two ways of looking at the world. Like, on the left, it's all about fair trade. On the right, it's about free trade. On the left, the goal at the heart of the left is personal freedom. The goal at the heart of the right is economic freedom. It's useful to see these differences sometimes, because both sides sometimes use the same words, but they mean slightly different things. So, equality on the left is a level playing field for everyone. Equality on the right means opportunity for everyone. Freedom on the left means freedom from power and abuse. Freedom on the right means the chance to achieve or fail. So both sides stand for equality and they fight for freedom, but they're standing and fighting for slightly different concepts, slightly different ideas, and maybe somehow that's where the conflict comes in. I have to admit, I felt a little bit conflicted making this image. I'm a journalist, I work for The Guardian and so on. I noticed as I was creating this image, I really wanted this left-hand side to sound better than that side. And I was like creeping in and and I thought, no, because it would create a visibly lopsided image, visibly biased image. So as part of my process, I really had to step into that side and really honour the perspectives there and realise how much of myself was actually in that side. And it was a bit uncomfortable, but it wasn't too uncomfortable, because ultimately it was just looking at an image. There's something unthreatening about an image. Somebody telling me their political views, I might say, whoa, I don't want to hear that, I might feel like I have to defend, but just seeing them, that's okay, I can take that, I can hold the views, I can accept them. And there's a clue in the language. When you say to someone, oh, I see what you mean, oh, I see where you're coming from, you're telling them that you somehow cognitively visualize their viewpoint, and you're relating to it, and you can hold it, you can hold the contradiction of the viewpoint. So maybe visualization has a potential to work with these polarized issues and these ways of seeing the world to help us just see better, see other people's views, to understand and relate better. Feels exciting to me. So visualization, I see it very much as like a language. And all these forms are the words of that language. And you already speak this language, and probably you of all audiences speak this language, and you probably use or see these words every day, right? And one of the things that's happening in visualization is that the vocabulary is expanding. So there are more words to speak with, if you like. And then there's that demand from modern audiences and modern eyes for colour and style, and that design feel that is modern and makes you pay attention and allows you to cut through the noise. with a pure, beautiful signal. So when you combine all those things, I think that's what you get. That's the idea of good viz. I'm conscious of the time. We did start a bit late. I could wrap up now. I could talk about what makes a good viz, just a short thing. Would that be, a good ending? You want to hear that? So just a little recipe, I think, of what works, what makes a good visualization. 4 elements. 2 of them really obvious. They're the core. So you need good data and good information, and you need some kind of design, visualization, some execution. But there are 2 things underneath that glue those two elements together, almost implicit, and they have to be there, I think, to create a solid framework. And they are that story, the concept, that question, and then the goal, what you're trying to do, why you would go through this visualization process. And each of these give and lend a certain aspect of the final visualization. The data makes it trustworthy, it gives it integrity. The story makes it interesting, vital, topical. The goal makes it efficient, gives it a sense of purpose, allows you to decide what to include and exclude. And then the design makes it engaging. And when I say data is beautiful and information is beautiful, I really mean that each of these elements have their own direct definition of beauty. You get some really great data that's really well researched, really well structured. That's beautiful data. Something that's very charged and a great question, a really interesting topic, that's beautiful. In fact, beautiful is the mind's word for interesting. If you see a captivating object, you say it's beautiful. If you perceive a captivating mental object, you say it's interesting. That's the word, mind's word for beautiful. Something that's easy to use and easy to experience, your iPad or whatever, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. And then finally, the general societal definition of beauty, aesthetic beauty. So all are beautiful. And if you combine all these things together in one, I think you get a successful visualization. So, thank you everyone. I believe we have some questions that many of you shared, so love to talk and chat about those.
Cool. Hello. Yep. Cool. Thank you very much, David. I think it's a truly fascinating talk, and I think you touched on many of the kind of problems we actually face here at G Research. So much so, actually, if you're looking for a job, everybody knows you're hiring, and I'm happily will refer you and I'll take you in. But anyway, we are pressed for time a little bit, so I'll dive straight into the questions. Thank you very much for everybody who has submitted some. Peter, my glamorous assistant, has filtered some out, so I'll dive through them anyway. So first up, how do you deal with the problems social media and fake news? Can you filter this or account for this, or has it muddied the water in terms of reliable data?
Yes, it's a very good question, very topical and very important one. Yeah, and it's a new landscape that we're seeing in terms of fake news, or I think to use the correct term, deliberately false news. I think the response is maybe two-pronged. My personal response has been to look at I'm curious about the nature of truth. I feel like there's a topography to truth. What we call truth can vary depending on what medium you're working on. There's journalistic truth, there's philosophical truth, there's scientific truth. So a bit of understanding, a bit of broadening out that term of truth versus false, I think would be helpful. And I think a bit more statistical understanding in the whole population as a whole, whether that's through education, schools, or just the news and media, being able to train people just to be more savvy when it comes to interpreting graphs or the ways you can lie and manipulate with statistics and numbers would be a welcome accessory to help us just navigate more accurately. But yeah, if anybody else has any other ideas specifically related to visualization, I would love to hear them.
Thanks. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the news today, but there's a huge data leak in the US. But
yes.
Kind of more generally, given the amount of data, given the amount you can learn from that data, do you think it's ethically acceptable to use that data if it's anonymized for research? Obviously, you touch on a little bit with the passwords story there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did read that story, and I might be wrong, but apparently what they define as a leak is it was in a bucket on S3, Amazon S3, that could have been navigated to. There was no evidence it was actually navigated to, so it was exposed rather than leaked. And that may have been updated, so I'm cautious about that. But so, yeah, so I don't know. I think what are the rules? Again, it's like almost like society is a little bit behind. The data explosions happened. The questions of integrity and ownership and sharing are beginning to affect the culture and affect us personally. And we feel it personally when our data is perhaps exploited or leaked. So there's almost like there's no legislation that actually isn't being able to keep in time with it. So society and culture are driving it a little bit. So societal and cultural rules are driving it a little bit. I don't know whether I would ever examine that data. It seems like it could be like unethical because of the sheer, as I understand it, it's like really comprehensive, both like even down to like geo coordinates and stuff. I mean, I think that's drawing the line. I think that's way past the point. Yeah.
Okay, so then there's a few questions on this, and I think probably going down to the audience members, particularly the developers here. What tools do you use to process and visualize the data? And I think even some went into questioning, do you use D3?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so great. So a lot of what you saw there was hand drawn in Illustrator. So literally just draw all the shapes. That's what I used to do. I've now developed an internal tool myself, which creates a few visualizations and animates them. Some of the animated charts you saw there were created with that. It's called VisSuite. But I also use whatever tool I can that's helpful for the job. Like I've used CartoDB and stuff like that for maps because sometimes I have a map job. I've used Tableau here and there mainly for exploratory, not for final products. I even use Google Docs little built-in charts just to do quick little plots just to see the shape of the data here and there. So I just combine a bunch of tools. There isn't a tool that's come out that rules them all yet. I don't know if there will be one. What are you generally using? Tableau, or what's the general terrain? Excel. Yeah, I mean I love Excel as well. Yeah, I do quite a lot of stuff with pivot tables. So mostly Excel. How many people are using Tableau? Okay, so about 21% of you. Yeah, sorry, I can do that now. Yeah, and then ClickView as well is quite big. I've not had much time to play with that. So we use ClickView too? Yeah, a few people over there. Yeah, so a mix. And a point I like to make, and I think it's like, I often, when I'm creating these images, I'm not really visualizing the data. I'm visualizing my understanding of the data. So often there's some kind of visual cognitive map that starts to emerge mentally that I then just sort of sketch out or try and discover through sketching. So sometimes it might, if I just visualize the data as is, it might interrupt that process. So I really dig into the data, I try and understand it, I try and spot a story, what's patterns within it before I move into the visual so that I'm working from a mental model. And I find that accelerates the creativity more because you've got a bit more plasticity and fluidity and you're really sort of trying to shape and interconnect things relative to your understanding. That's what you do when you understand something, you shape and interconnect things mentally. Thank you.
Cool. So then, where do you first look for the sources of data? So it's probably quite varied.
Yeah, again, it depends on the job. I do a lot of scraping, as you saw. I really love doing that. It feels very mischievous, but it's very useful. I've got a lot of sources, like journalistic sort of sources, so secondary sort of sources, World Bank, New York Times, good, reputable journalistic sources. And I also have a few relationships with large companies, and they often will give me access to some of the data, not like in a nefarious way, but I've got a good relationship with Google, and sometimes I can get a little bit more granular search data if I need it for any particular job. So it's a mix. But always trying to I like to creatively generate data wherever possible, come up with unusual sources.
And linked to that one, what's the worst data set you've ever worked with? And in brackets here, I'm talking awful format, most of the fields missing.
Oh, wow.
Problem here as well.
How long you got? I mean, awful format, lots of fields missing, and in a PDF. Great, thanks. Countless. I mean, I do a lot. I mean, 80% of the work is data. So it's sourcing, cleaning, extra research, shaping, finding story, going back and checking. So huge amount, roll the sleeves up type stuff, just getting down on that. So no particular data set strikes out. I mean, there are some sources that I used to trust, and what the big thing for me a couple of years ago was trusting these big data places, I'm not going to name names, and then just like, okay, let's just check their methodology, go back to methodology and going, what? Some of the assumptions, political influence, like a lot of stuff in the methodology buried in the appendices, but methodology is like really like, whoa. So now we check methodology as well, which just adds another 20% onto the time of the job. But getting it as true and as accurate as possible, that is the paramount, that's the core value.
Which probably is another kind of linked one, is how do you avoid making the data lie, and quoting lies, damn lies and statistics?
Yeah.
How do you spot when someone is using data to lie to you?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Again, it's back to that sort of literacy thing and having a sort of sense of it. You can lie with statistics, you can really lie with visualized statistics. You have the power of data and the power of design. Very hard to argue. Very hard to retract an image once you've released it on social media. I've made a mistake in a couple of graphs before, released it, got 1,000 retweets, and then spotted this error. Such a painful feeling to know you made an error like that and it's circulated. Then you recant, you release an image, it gets like 5 retweets, and you're just like, oh. So a lot of pressure to get everything right, and it's difficult to do it as a small group. It was just 3 or 4 of us. But we made a commitment early on. Always share the data, so the data set's always given away. Our working is always given away. We're going to give away versions as well, so people can look and see our workings. About 25% of people do. So I think data, this kind of data work has to be twined with transparency. And then just always correcting, always apologising if you make mistakes. Not too often these days, actually, so luckily. And just building trust. I believe in accurate data. That is what I believe in. So hopefully I try and fuse that in every piece I create.
Cool. I'm not sure how easy it'll be able to answer this one. A lot of your plots use area to represent quantity rather than length. Why do you think that is? And is there anything which is better represented by volume than area?
Volume. I like area. I think when I like people to focus on the overall pattern. Like with the billions, I like people to be able to see the pattern because that's what draws them in, and then they can see they can explore the detail. The job is always to get people to pay attention. That is a massive currency these days, just to cut through the noise. So if you can create something that's beautiful, and areas somehow, and bubbles, somehow draw the eye, they're just more appealing. So people will look. And if they look, they might pay attention. If they pay attention, they might take it in. So it's a little bit of a seductive technique in a way, but just choosing forms that are beautiful does have that utility. So area. But the goal matters. Like if I just want people to look at the broad pattern, that's fine. But if I want people to make analytical decisions, I'm not going to use area because this shape versus that shape. There may be subtle differences in numbers your eye can't perceive. So then you use the bar chart and scatter plot and the more exact forms. When the goal is to convey an analytical understanding or enable your audience to make an examination. So the goal, like I said, you saw on the chart, the goal actually plays a large role in shaping what chart you use.
I think you touched on this one as well slightly, but you made a visualization about the respective qualities and scores of dog breeds. Do you own a dog? And then follow-on question, were you tempted to bias visualization to support your choice of dog breed? You touched on
Very good.
politics.
I'm actually more of a cat person than a dog person. I don't own either, unfortunately, so we'll see. But I did create that image in order to help people choose dogs, because there's an interactive version where you can select what your concerns, like which dogs are good with children, which dogs are most intelligent, your budget, and so on. So it allows you just to narrow the choices, because there are many dogs out there. So again, just the goal is just to help you make an informed decision, or help your decision-making process.
Okay, and I think the final question now. Have you ever attempted to visualize the uncertainty of your data?
Of my own data?
Yeah.
No. But I'd be interested in anybody's ideas for doing that.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that's all we've got time for.
Could I wanted to maybe make a final point. Would you be able to make it? I just want to do a little thing. It will take a couple of minutes. I just wanted to reinforce this thing about play, about data. And I'm sure you feel this. Numbers, I said it earlier, data, spreadsheets, certain rigidity. And it's just, visualization is really infusing those numbers and rigidity with influx of color and like fluidity and creativity. So, art meets science. In that spirit, I wondered, maybe we could play a little game. You want to play just a short game with me? Yeah, want to try this? Okay, well, mixed sounds. I call this the data viz quiz. What I've done is I've visualized some charts, but I've removed the labels, and I want you to use your amazing G-research minds to try and work out what the graphs are about, okay? Want to try that? Okay, slightly bit more enthusiasm, yeah. Okay, let's start with this. Recession versus what? What rises and falls with recession? What's the blue line here? Can you shout it out? Cigarette sales? Oh, I heard it. Somebody said it in the middle. Very good. Hemlines, but it's actually correct. Lipstick. Very good. It's a microeconomic phenomenon. When the economy goes down, lipstick sales go up. There's a little pick-me-up. You can just, well, not me, but like one. Anyway. Okay, good. Very good. All right. What is the most popular breakfast cereal in the world? What cornflakes, muesli, or porridge? What's the yellow line here? Porridge? Porridge? Back of the room? Oh, I got a little bit of cornflakes at the front and then mostly porridge. Let's take a look. Very good. But what if I added toast? Toast would be higher or lower than porridge? Higher? Well, a low bit of lower and a high bit of higher. Let's see. Oh, yes! This is what we call in the data trade a smackdown. Very good. Like seasonal peaks, Interesting. Very good. Oh, something hot. Let's make it a little bit hotter. 2 words trend harder than sex online. Where are they? God? War? Money? Kardashians? Get a little snapshot of your lives over here. I think I heard it over here, sir. Somebody said it, I think. Yes. Very good. Oh no, well, actually not so good because it's actually YouTube and Facebook. But not far off. Yep, now officially better than sex. But what if I added Twitter? Would Twitter be higher or lower than sex? Lower, definitely lower. Let's have a look. Oh yes, basically a hum. Okay, final round, let's see what you got. What trends harder online? Awesome versus badass. Awesome on this side? Badass on this side. Wow, an even split. Let's take a look. Oh, it is awesome. What about awesome versus cool? Cool win? Does cool beat awesome? Cool. A few pockets of awesome, but mostly cool. Let's hear. Oh, you're right. Well, what beats cool? Does nice beat cool? Nice. No? Damn you. What about ninja? Ninja beat cool? Damn you, again. Okay, there is a word that beats cool. You probably use it every day. Okay. Great. Like. Hi. Good. Me. Stupid. Free associating now. Use it every day. Use it every day. You know this. You know it. You know it. You know it. Facebook. Yes. Really cool. So much data in the world. What else can you do but play with it? Thank you very much, everybody.